Okay, so now we're going to discuss fiscal policy. So we've already discussed the monetary policy dun sa ating video na nakaraan. Now, I'm going to discuss to you the fiscal policy. Now, if we're going to talk about monetary policy pertains to the money supply of our economy. And it involves savings and investment, no? Right? So I only want to recap the idea for this monetary policy, no? So now we're going to discuss fiscal policy. Now, if we're going to talk about fiscal policy pertains to the taxation, right? So it pertains to the taxation within the Philippine economy. Now, and we are hoping kung sino man yung magiging presidente ay maayos niya yung tinatawag nating taxation here in the Philippines. Because if we're going to talk about taxation, we're talking about the government spending, right? Because when we talk about taxation, it really pertains in terms of collecting revenue, right? Revenue, and then afterwards we will try to spend it in terms of projects, programs, public service, no, for the Filipino people. So this fiscal policy is very relevant in our country because it is the bloodline. It is the bloodline of our economy in terms of what we call as taxation. You know? So now, referring to the fiscal policy, we have a delegated power by the president, no, and it is in the body of what we call as the Bureau of Internal Revenue. It is the Bureau of Internal Revenue which collects taxes. Then afterwards, no, we will use those taxes, no, to fund what we call as the government spending. Now, in terms of government spending, guys, we are talking about money which we will be using as our budget, no? Kaya nga kanina, sinabi ko sa inyo, the DBM already passed, no, an estimation to the House of Representatives regarding our budget for the 2022, right? And that is 5.024 trillion. And thank you very much for the body, the government agency, which is the Bureau of Internal Revenue, which collects those taxes, right? So that we can have a fund, no, for the government programs and projects, no, in terms of specifically the Build program po, yung Build program. So kaya po natin kailangan ng pagbubuwis at napaka-importante niya sa isang bansa. Alright? So after that, we have what we call as the trade policy, right? The trade policy. And the trade policy refers to what we call as the importation and exportation, right? Importation and exportation. Now, when we talk about importation, we are trying to buy some products, no, from the other countries. Now, what will happen is that if we're going to do that, dapat ang pambayad natin ay dollars din, right? Dollar. So, pag ganun ang nangyari, tayo ay bibili ng dollar upang ipambayad yung dollar doon sa ating in-import. Alright? So, therefore, yung pera natin, it will go out of the circular flow of the economic activity. Palabas siya. Alright? So, paano natin maipapasok ulit itong pera na nakalabas, no? Because of importation. Ang sagot po dyan is yung ating exportation. Because exportation refers to the inflow of money, no? So, pag nag-export tayo ng mga products, no, or services na like OFW, no, nag-abroad at nag-export din tayo ng mga products, or we have company abroad, that will become a remittance from abroad at yung pera po ay papasok ng ating bansa. Alright? Papasok sa ating bansa yan, therefore, it will be treated as an inflow, no? Inflow of money to the circular flow of economic activity. So that's why exportation is very significant in our economy. But the problem here in the Philippines that mas mataas po yung ating importation kaysa sa exportation. So in terms of balance of trade, no? Balance of trade, at least we want to achieve a balance of trade, but the problem is importation po mas mataas, no? So sana po kahit balance of trade, but the problem is if the importation is higher than the exportation, so we have a problem in our circular flow of economic activity, no? And we would like to combat that, no? We would like to combat that by means of creating product that we can export, no? That we can export, no? Actually, nagkaroon tayo ng problema diyan when we opened our country in terms of what we call as globalization, right? Globalization. We opened our country, I think that was during the time of President Fidel Valdez Ramos, no? When we are considered to be as a newly industrialized country, no? Ang nangyari parang binigla natin yung ating bansa, no? Binigla ang bansa para lumaban, no? Lumaban sa mga dayuhang produkto. So that poses us as a big problem for us, right? So kaya as of from now, yung ating balance of trade ay nagkakaproblema dahil ang importation natin ay mas lagpas kaysa sa ating exportation. At isa pa dyan, yung isang ating number one exported product, yung nata de coco. The nata de coco was copied by the Japanese country, no? Yung Japan, inopen nila yung nata de coco. Then afterwards, dati tayong number one producer ng nata de coco sa buong mundo. Ngayon is Japan na already, right? So that is what happened in terms of what we call as importation and exportation. Now, whoever becomes the president, sana po ma-address itong mga economic policies na to. Alright? Especially monetary policy, fiscal policy, and the trade policy.